Okay, thank you MMA for creating and giving me this opportunity to meet with my dear friends from the industry, my clients, a lot of friends from the industry. So my name is Ha. I will be the host of the panel today. And very quickly, from my left hand, Suzanne, Marian, Ling, Zip, and then Zip, Ling, and Peter. So we all come from various experiences and background. We hope that we're going to bring to the panel today a very authentic point of view and fruitful discussion. So I prepared some of the questions today. But at the end of the session, you can raise your hand and ask any tough questions for the people here, and we are happy to have that. Okay. So, do you want to have a quick introduction about yourself? I think we should. Right?
Yes, sure.
Let's do it.
Hello everyone. So my name is Giang, Giang, and I'm currently a CEO of Purpose Startup. We usually originally were the Purpose Group. Perhaps most of you know us at the Purpose Group. And we came from a consultancy, and now Purpose Group become creative agency. And lately last year we actually merging with NTS, which is a company on media and first party data, and become Purpose Startup. And with the vision that we bring creative data and technology together. So I'm very happy being here with you guys, and talking on this very interesting topic, consumer touchpoint. Thank you.
Hello, so I'm Marian. So I'm the managing director of CBA Design. We are a branding agency, and so our role is actually to help brands create, build, develop growth at different touch points. So I'm very happy to be here because it's a great topic, quite on point today, and I hope we'll have a fruitful discussion to help you guide your brands services.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zia. I'm currently working as a marketing communications director of K+. You might know about this brand, or if not, this is a joint venture between TV group Canal Plus from France and VTV, the national television of Vietnam. And we established our company 14 years ago. Soon, the anniversary of the 14th anniversary of the company will come by end of this month, so we will celebrate it. And then I'm very happy today to be here and share my experience at some point with all these ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Lynn. I'm the head of digital marketing of Credit. So today I'm in charge of two departments. One is digital marketing, and the second one is the digital business of Credit and Yuba. So you all know about Credit. We are the consumer finance. So today, as the leader of the market, we provide all the credit product, including the credit card, the personal loan, all the related like the banca product. The second brand that I'm in charge of is the Ubank. That's the digital banking that's very new in the market. So I'm here today to not only to share, but I would like to learn from you in order to well plan for what is going to be the next plan for Credit and Ubank. So that's my objective today.
Hi, my name is Peter Pang. So I'm the founder and director of Initi Group. We are a digital marketing and media company, operate in 10 countries in Asia. We focus on creative advertising, content and influencers marketing, and e-commerce marketing. So I feel very pleased to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start. As you know that the brand touchpoint and consumer touchpoint are actually the window of the interactions between the customers and all the consumer with the brand, the product, right? So it is very important nowadays that we see a lot of trends, we see a lot of changes. Do you see that the consumer nowadays, when you interact with any brand touchpoint, they are looking for the interactions that are very much connected and contextualized at every turn. So whether it is via physical store, physical experience via the store, or digital means, a social media application, they're always looking for, they expect the touch point to be personalized along the consumer journey. So it is very important for the brand to understand. It is very crucial for them to understand that how that consumer touch point look like, so that they can create a very connected experience along the journey. So from your observation and your experience, do you have any insights, or you want to have to share your opinions how the brand nowadays redefines the consumer touchpoint so that it can create a very seamless and connected experience for the consumer? You want to go first, or?
Okay, all right. So yes, we've been talking a lot about like omni-channel and online connect to offline and like merging up to online. So in other words, online merging to offline. A lot of time you will find that in the past you will find that it's actually a theory, right? Because there's this terminology to talk about that. But last 2 years, majorly, you will see it's everything come real. A consumer, you will observe that they will go from seeing an ad, going to offline, watching, going up to searching the price right on the store, using the voucher, go up to online, but they are not. They are in store, searching, browsing the product, but they don't shop and in store. They go up to online and looking for the price comparison, and basically buy at the cheapest price whatsoever in Shopee or Lazada or whatsoever. And they're not just stopping, they're going back to store, collect the voucher, and then receive a real message from a store owner saying, why don't you buy a shoe and getting a new shirt? They start searching another round and start engaging with that. And so you see the whole journey of customer getting much more complicated and real, integrating between online, offline, and online. And we has been working a lot with first party data and a lot with retail clients. We really observing this big change and big shift in full omni-channel. The consumer interact a lot with different touch points, and along different touch points, there are so many things influence in their decision making, in their consideration, decision making, and purchase. Like influencer talking can influence that. Like they start seeing their friend review, it can influence in the ways they make decision. There's a different offer in different touch point that can also impact on the decision. So another word what I'm observing is right now is that the old word of like omni-channel, online merging to offline, it really come in real, and is really representing a real behavior of consumer, as well as from brand standpoint, we start be able to track, measure, monitor consumer behavior, and interact with them in real with a lot of, quite many marketing technology and advertising technology available in the market. And from we have been doing quite a bit and really seeing the impact of this embracing of touch point, and how brand can actually using and leveraging that understanding of touch point, change and interact with them effectively.
Yeah, I think it's totally correct. And brands have always known actually this idea that you have multiple channels. But even if we think, and we take the example of one of our key clients, which is Unilever. I mean, last year really the objective was really considering e-commerce, really, and prioritizing e-commerce. Meaning that when you build your campaign, we know there is a certain funnel that marketers work on, but you need to think about your final sell moment and think backwards. So Amazon also has been talking a lot about it from the beginning, this idea of consumer backward, consumer centricity. But today it's very real because consumer journey is not linear anymore. So you can have information coming from a lot of very different touch points. They may be influenced by what they see before even hearing your campaign. So how do you connect your message is very important to ensure consistency. So you need to have one key message, which is consistent. But it doesn't mean that the way you treat your touch points is the same. At the opposite, and I think today was very rich because we talked a lot about data. How do we actually engage with data, analyze data? And these data are very important because it helps you actually to create, the tailor-made, the personalized products which actually really give you this better ROI. So all is connected. I think, brands and services, they need to adapt to these multi-channels, and each of them have actually bringing something to the consumer. So it's not choosing one specifically, but looking at what each of them can bring to your consumer journey and your brand development.
So it's just very important for brand to understand how to personalize a message, and for every individual involving in that journey, right? And also at the same time understand the motivation and the barriers so that you can move the consumer along the purchase funnel. So Peter, do you want to add in any point?
Yeah. There's many perspectives for us to look into this term connected commerce or connected customer. So maybe I use another way to look at it, like from a 3C way: content, community, commerce. How do we actually link up these 3C to create a connected commerce situation? So is it content basically tell a brand story, while the community actually help to build trust, help to foster loyalty? And if this 3C strategy done well, and the e-commerce will be beyond just transactions, means the brand will be seen as more than just a seller, maybe as a trusted friend. So I think this is a very important strategy for brands to adapt to. Not only just think about selling, but just think about the 3C. So this is a connected strategy. When they want to apply, you have to start from the very beginning. Means when you deliver experience to the customer, we have to start from when first the customer see your ad until they purchase your product. That is the whole experience we are talking about, not just about purchasing or after purchasing, pre-purchase. So this is how I see the different perspective of connected commerce.
I have a question. So listening to you, so this question is for everyone. Have you noticed any channel which is a very effective brand touchpoint nowadays? Like, is there any rising channel? We're talking about Facebook or TikTok, So maybe you share your point of view about that. So if I have to choose, if my budget is limited and I don't have much budget, I only have 2 campaigns to run per year. So which is a reality for brand, right? So who agree, who approval is that? Yeah, that's right. So if you have to choose, okay, so I have a question, let's refine it this way, simplify the questions. If I have to choose one channel and one platform as a brand touchpoint to focus on, what is your recommendation?
It's actually a tough question.
It's a moment of truth.
True. Well, I would say one of very phenomenon emerge of touch point lately perhaps is go with micro touch point, go a lot with influencer, micro influencer, and social commerce. It's not mean that you can only do that without doing the full funnel planning and strategy. We have a case and understanding that the effectiveness. Rupa in Google have been talking a lot with you don't have to say short versus long, creative versus performance. If you are be able to combine all, your performance will be phenomenal. However, if you are talking about, if you allow me to choose just one, perhaps the power of the influencer, social commerce, micro influencer, and word of mouth and community perhaps is one of a very formidable.
But word of mouth is everywhere, right? So what channels we are talking about? So we are now focusing on Facebook, or we are now focusing on TikTok. I really want to push that everyone has to, give me a name for that. Okay, Facebook or TikTok, right?
Yeah, my answer I think is totally different. When I don't have a lot of budget, and I think I should spend on my existing customer. So a lot of people actually ignore existing customer when they think about budget, they just throw to the new customer, advertising, TikTok, influencers. I think the most important, actually, we all know that if you go and acquire new customer, maybe you have only 15 to 20% chance of convert that. But why not focus on their existing customer, and why not make them to become your key influencers or ambassador? Invest on them, reward them, and we actually have this idea called community-based marketing. Community-based marketing means we actually use the existing customer or existing community to drive new customers. So if I'm in this situation, most likely I will do that.
You want to be so because you give very straightforward to any consumer finance and banking.
No financial term.
It's not new to me also. Because as a consumer finance and banking, and if you ask me like what would be the first triggers that I think about when I don't have a lot of budget to spend, so it's about where I know that the customer they have the demand. So that is where, for example, now the question for you. So when you need the cash loan or when you need the credit card, where will you go? Definitely, the first question will be you will go to shirt, right? So for me, the shirt doesn't mean from Google, right? Shirt is everywhere. But in order to capture the demand and convert it to the real sales for the company, so I will choose wherever my customer they will go and shirt. The shirt can have like three forms. One, they can go and shirt directly to the Facebook and the Google. That's the first shirt. The second shirt will happen when they shirt to like someone they know. For example, like they can go to their Facebook, for all the friends and see what will be the opinion from their side. And then, lastly, they will go and share directly in the first brand in their mind. For example, like they know that okay, Epic Credit is providing them the good product, right? Because they are the leader of the market. So the first place they will go for sure, they will go to the website. So two ways. One, friends can own the own channel first because I think that's the first touch point that all the customer they will go. And then second, if I want to follow the demand, then I will go to all the place where the customer they will shop for the product.
So I really learned a very good insight that for finance and banking, such is very important step for the people before making any decisions, right? So very good. So I move to the second question because I want to cover. There's a lot of I prepared 20 questions today, so please. I will lock the room and no one can escape the room. You have to be there with me. So now come to the question number 2. Right? So we are living in a world that the content at the fingertips. So you see that the consumer journey has been, how can I say, evolved and expanded significantly. Right? So we're seeing that the consumer journey, because now from the session of Rupa, when he shared about the Google Insights, we know the attention span is very, very short. Now you're competing almost like against everyone, right? So not only the competitors from the same category, but you're competing against a brand who have a bigger budget than you, the brands, who can have a better content, the brands who can win the Gen Z faster. So TikTok is not in the room, but I blame TikTok for, it seems that, okay. Oh yeah. But she's my friend, so it's just okay. So dancing seems the only survival skill if the brand or any individual to, want to survive or to stand out, right? So we are talking about nowadays. So traditionally, when we say traditionally, I mean 5 years ago, when we launch a campaign, the consumer know about campaign should become aware of the campaign via advertisement, like via TVC on TV, out of home, billboard, like social media posts, and then editorial PR. Now with the rise of the internet, the rise of commerce, there's so many terms. We're talking about omni-channel retail, we're talking about KOC. So it seems that, should we still stage the consumer journey the way that we normally do, like awareness, consideration, engagement, buying, and loyalty? What is your opinion? So we have a lot of the clients. You want to do so who still blame the consumer journey, like awareness, consideration, buying, and loyalty. Almost everyone, right? Yes. Should we still do the same way?
True. And most of the time now I'm talking from agency standpoint. Whenever we receive the brief, you will see 4 objectives in one brief put together. Generate awareness, trigger consideration, get purchase, get loyalty. All in one brief. And it's actually
Big
become
budget?
big budget. And big budget, very big. No, actually it's not. That's reality. That's why we just make the task, like the challenge of like solving the problem of like own full stack become a lot of time not very possible. So I would say to your question, whether we are still planning in or we're still thinking awareness, consideration, purchase, advocacy, or planning in that way, I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we all have to realize that, and we all have to agree that the challenges of different states of the business, awareness, consideration, purchase, and advocacy are different. That's why it's very hard for one communication plan to say let's solve all 4 problems together, and one most of the time very limited budget. So a lot of time, I guess it's also important is that we need to still be single-minded to say what would be the key challenge that this communication plan, for example, was solved. What is the key challenge that we have to solve in this particular single plan? Now, so the next question would be, well, but the consumer reality, no, they are not staying in awareness and hanging up there. They would first aware of your and then curious, following you, searching for information, click whatsoever, right? They not stay at awareness.
You have to say that, wait, like we're going to launch the engagement phase in 2 weeks' time so that you can engage the car.
Right, correct. So yes, so in reality, no, because it's very hard that consumer will stop at awareness or stop at consideration or just be an advocate without telling anyone or generate another round of awareness. So yes, in planning, we cannot, in reality, it's very hard for us to actually thinking single-minded. However, when we say yes, it's from planning standpoint, when you are actually talking about what would be the single challenge that one communication plan has to solve, and try to be as single as possible, at least to keep a focus on what would be the key step that that communication plan has to be solved and what challenge to be solved. However, coming to reality, you need to actually focus on that issue. And we have to recognize that one communication plan is very hard to at least, I think maximum can stretch up let's say 2 stage, 3 stage at max, 2 at max. And not necessarily in order of awareness, consideration, purchase, and advocacy. It can actually jump the gun from awareness to purchase right away without that consideration part. So, a lot of time you expecting 4 steps all together and thinking from fruitfulness standpoint, letting a little bit beyond communication plan, but having more about like customer-centric mindset. When you already have to be able to read consumer, how you can actually turn them from anonymous to identify, to purchase and become your advocacy, which is bear with us, it's actually go beyond a communication plan. And if you're asking whether one plan can solve all, we still have to think awareness, consideration, yes. We still have to be single-minded, yes. In reality, do people think it that way? No. However, one communication plan can solve all, no, as well. So actually, a brand right now, I would say would have to establish a bit of infrastructure to think in a bit more customer-centric. When you already have a campaign, catch anonymous or consumer. How can you continue following him so that you can become identified and can start purchasing and become your advocate in that flow or in order.
So Ling, maybe like you are love to hear from you. So you are the content creator, like a big content platform. So I think that you don't wait until 4 stages, but you're reaching everyone almost at the same time.
First, I think it doesn't work while I speak. Yeah. No, it's fine. Yes. I totally agree agree with what Chief Sandra said, and then as a TV operator and a content a streaming content service, we actually apply like that because we know that the consumer journey might change and be more fragmented nowadays, but the traditional model is still relevant. We still keep that way, but not necessarily like following all the step by step from 1 to 4. And the big difference for us, as per our experience for content, is it needs more interaction from the first step, from awareness, and that is why we try to engage the customer care service from the first step. Because it's the best way to take care of your potential customer through the different steps from awareness through consideration and everything, and then after that you will get more like you can better convert them into your real customer, and also again let them to stay more with you, be more loyal. So this is what we apply for us. And the second point is that when we talk about the consumer journey and also communication, also touch point, it's not necessarily just communication touch points, but we try to reach our potential customer by changing, by adapting our product itself. For example, we think that pay TV and streaming service is just we stream our content on the application or on TV. But with the rising of the internet and social, we adapt to create more digital content on social, and this is how we connect with our potential customer and also convert them into our real and loyal customer. So this is the experience what we have at K+.
So let's zoom in one very important stage of the consumer journey, the conversion stage, which is the most challenging stage of the consumer journey. So we're talking about a lot of terms and marketing terms, and every year we're having a new term. Like for example, we're talking about O2O, and then we have D2C, we have omni-channel, we have omni-channel commerce, and then KOC, social commerce, right? So every year when we do the IOB for the clients, which is a bit, we have to come up with a new term. But still, I have to admit that when it comes to conversion stage, no matter what the KPIs we are talking about, it's still the most challenging stage. So why is that? Why is the brand not like? So what is the successful formula according to your opinion? Or do you have any example, which is a great case study or a great example that you want to share with everyone here? The brand who really very successful in this conversion strategy.
Because I come from banking, so I guess that conversion is a very typical KPI that I have to track every year. So actually, it's not that much scary. It is scary actually, because when it comes to the conversion, so the first on the top of my that because when I'm the marketer, when I build a communication with my customer, so I really want to give them a lot of information related to the product and convince them to take. But where I stuck because how I can convince them that I will be the first choice or even the only one choice for them. And that is where I figure out that in order to do the conversion, so we have to have a true improvement in terms of the communication. The first one is about how to settle the funnel for the conversion, because it's not just like, okay, we just bring some customer in and then let it be, they will be there in the e-commerce or they will be with the the telesales to convince them. No, it's not in that way. We need to look really deep down to the downstream funnel, and we have to understand, like, if the customer, they see the ad, they see the communication, they choose us, but then after some time they drop off to the funnel, they disagree. Then why? We need to understand that. Otherwise, there will be no way that we can spend how much money we spend. We cannot win them.
How do you find out?
So that is very interesting thing that I do. So I will share with you. So, for example, because like in the marketing, the funnel is to start. For example, like the moment when the customer they download the application, they register, they will be there with us. That's only, but that's not the goal, right? The goal will be like after they download already, after they register already, how you can convince them to take even like the cash loan or the credit card or the banca product. So that is where we use the tracking for the creative. We know like from the shots of the customer when they come, we know exactly where they come from. If they come from the social media, they see the ad in the social media and it comes to us. So in out, the engagement strategy that I will apply to convince them will be different with the customer I see that they come from the shop. So we have to classify the customer by the shots when they come to ensure that if we talk with them, we know who they are and we give them the right product at the right time. So that's the first part of conversion.
So may I jump in?
Yeah.
Do you do that all in-house? Do you have anyone to help you do that? Like you have a team in-house doing that? And how many
No.
ads on product did you create?
We have actually we have two teams. One is the infrastructure and data analysis. That is one team that sit with the digital marketing and digital business at this moment. Thanks God that I have them. Because at the first time when I go, it's just like a mattress. You know what I mean? When the customer they come, I don't know exactly who they are and what will be the way that I talk with them. And when my boss he say, you have to talk with them with the purpose, engagement, but with the purpose and with the KPI. So that's a classic for the banking, right? so the infrastructure team, they help me to connect all the dots that we really want to do. We really want to connect, like for example, the ad come from the Facebook is have one short name, right? Identify that one through the outliers, right? And then bring it after the outliers, we bring it back to the data warehouse, right? And then you will have like a seamless view from where the customer they come. And then after that, they will try to communicate with the customer. So funnel is something very I have to tell you that I really love to look at the funnel every time when I run the campaign. You will see every day is a new day because some customer they will stop for some scenarios, but some customer they will go straight forward to the conversion immediately in the day one. But I don't know exactly what is different between both of them because the investment is the same, right? And the communication also the same. Then why? I mean, there would be something wrong. And then in our company, we do one thing you call creative for performance. We track back to the creative and we track back to the investment that we do to see what is wrong. Maybe with some communication, we didn't give them enough information for them to follow. Or maybe because the segment that I choose, maybe they didn't in the high education level enough to understand for your information because every credit customer audience, the audience that I'm serving, they are mostly the blue collar customer. I mean, they are the banh seller on the street, or they just like a general worker in some factory. So the level of education is not that much high in order to help them to connect with us and go with us from the A to Z. So that is important with me. I need to understand. I need to understand the customer segment. I need to understand the shop of the customer and then engage with them. And one more important thing that I think that the lesson that I learned to save the budget, by the way, is about the duplication. Because when you try to touch the customer in a lot of touch points, so very easy that you just spend the money. Why we have to do like that, right? We need to understand like how many customer segmentation that we want to approach. Let's say like we have 10 profile in our mind that we want to approach. Then we need to know for which profile, which touch point we can penetrate to win their heart first. And we will spend the effort for that before we jump to another channel, another touch point. That is important because I see even when I talk with some of my friends who work in some other company, the way when you do the plan for the media, it's just like, okay, with this segment, this is the how many money that I have to spend. But you didn't even see that across the channel, what will be the duplication. So that is one more thing that I need to add in here in order to build the conversion in the most effective way. And the last thing, I think is about the creative. Because it's very easy for us to run like a campaign in one or 2 months. But let's think about conversion because conversion never happens in 1 or 2 months. Conversion must be the always on campaign that we have to follow from the January to December, and then again it's just like a circle. And when we run in that way, creative is very hard to control because
we cannot use our own thing to talk to the customer. We cannot create a lot of things, right? So that is where I have two solutions. One, thanks God, I have the feedback with me, and in the technology, it helped me today in order to create the content and the creative in the most effective way. That's the first that you should leverage, and the second that you should leverage is like a lot of survey must be there. Don't underestimate that one, because we cannot build the creative based on what we think. We need to build the creative in the way that the customer they want to see.
So data is very important.
Yeah, so that's the reason why. I mean, that's the three lessons that I learned during the time when I do the conversion for the consumer finance.
Thanks, Sherry. Thank you so much.
You want to add? Very interesting when you mentioned about creativity, and I think that's why we were talking also earlier today in the World Talk. I mean, at the end, it's about understanding consumers, and that's the center. And also as part of the model we were talking about, when you launch a campaign or when you launch a product, I think it's key to understand what is the current issue that you're trying to solve. Because you can think about, is it about, do I need to focus on awareness or do I need to focus on loyalty? I mean, I think it's really important to think about what you're trying to solve. And from this moment, we can work backwards, and that's a creative solution. And that's something that we talked about also about this, it's human behind. And that's where, I mean, at this stage, machine can do as much as they can, but we cannot change human brain and human creativity. So it's having the right level of data to actually create this kind of element of your marketing mix, and then bringing the human.
So you mentioned a very interesting terms of consumer backward. Is that what you mean? We can launch a campaign, you learn the data, and then you go back and see and review the quality of the creative, whether or not it's personalized, whether or not you meet and can convert the consumer, meet the consumer need and can convert them.
Yeah, backward is a really interesting approach. Again, that Amazon was actually the first one to really talk widely about it. Yeah. And there are brands also in terms of designing process that have used that to test very quickly. And now when you talk about, I don't have a lot of media budget or innovation budget, there are brands or companies who are now taking the risk for years to launch products very quickly. They test, they fail, and they redo. I mean, it means that you don't spend 1 year, but obviously your logistic and everything needs to follow. But you go fast and you create, you test, you analyze the data. You don't need so much data as we saw today. You get lost in the immensity of data you have to actually analyze. But you get, those kind of, human elements that are working on it, and you build on that. So that's also a way, but the authenticity, I think, is what we need to bring back into creativity.
I agree. So, and then let's talk about commerce. Because commerce, we talk about conversion, and I would love to discuss and would love to learn more about commerce. So when I talk about commerce, I really want to delete the E in front of the e-commerce so that we can have the right commerce strategy. So commerce is not we are not talking about channel, we're really talking about a mindset, and commerce require a very integrated strategy, right? So, and this is an interaction actually, because from a search or swipe, chat or share, add to cart or click to buy, it is an interaction. But ultimately, it's also an engagement as well. You can build brand and demand with commerce. So shops are no longer a physical store when you go and shop. The people nowadays, they can shop via social media, and they can socialize as a grocery, right? So you can convert sales via social media channels, but you can also build brands via marketplace, brand.com, or any commerce channel. So we are really talking about the connected commerce that Peter mentioned at the beginning of the conversation as well. So I really want to hear from you, about the commerce, about the connected commerce strategy. What should the brand do? There's a lot of brands that are talking about commerce for a long time, right? So now with the rising of the KOC, and the KOL also jumping in the game and also saying that, okay, I can help you to sell brand as well. So what is your opinion about?
Still on conversion.
Yeah. Commerce, connected.
Conversion. In fact, conversion is one of the most scary topic to talk about. Every time when we present to the client, we can present a very interesting story, but at the end, when these questions come up like, how are you going to increase my conversion? There will be a 10-second silence, like nobody wants to pick up the questions. So it's challenging. But I pick a point as in connected commerce, like how to drop the E from the e-commerce. I mean, drop the E maybe is still digital, but why e-commerce have to be so e-commerce? Why e-commerce cannot be like how we go to the mall? It's more discovery commerce. You don't have any intention. But right now, I think the e-commerce is still at the stage like I want to buy something, I want to buy toilet paper, I wait for 10 and then I add to basket. It's with a full intention. So I hope E, by dropping the E means change it to a D, maybe it's a discovery commerce or we call it embedded commerce. Embedded commerce means shoppable. We make everything shoppable. Let's say I write the articles. At the end of the articles, the articles is of course have to be very useful article, but at the end of the article, we also provide you a seamless experience to add to. We call that shopping. To me, it makes sense. Why everything have to make it so obvious? So that is one of the ways. You can call this as shoppable. You can call it embedded commerce. We have tried multiple ways, like bringing out the influencers video, and then the influencers video definitely will attract your eyeball. But at the bottom of the video, there is an interactive catalog. So we make it kind of like bring it more fun, not like buying is just buying. Why not buying with entertainment, also called shoppertainment? There's this kind of jargon. So yeah, that is right.
So Peter mentioned a very good term, shoppable content as well. Do you want to add anything from the creative point of view?
Because we're talking about entertainment, commerce, and basically, particularly, we talk a lot about TikTok. That's a very effective tool. And TikTok is both interest commerce, interest shopping, because the interest and the demand even get triggered before they really purchase. And because they're following you into see what you are watching, what content you are seeing, they understand your taste, personal taste. They understand what content you are actually looking for, right? And because of that, now the TikTok short become very short, and it's like we have been working on a fruitful commerce. Or we see TikTok as like not to embracing TikTok as it's a very effective tool. It's like it's really fruitful in one few minutes platform. From awareness to consideration to purchase and advocacy all together. So it's become like a funnel in one touch point like that, and the commerce become much simpler, and it's a very powerful in that one. Now, so what we are taking away from that one, we are barely seeing that commerce is like Peter said, doesn't happen with you telling them and you try to sell stuff to them, right? It's actually starting from you generate the interest and you generate the demand. How to make it relevant and interesting to consumer. But the second thing is a very important, which is Ling also talking, is about the whole funnel, how you actually be able to follow them and get conversion at every step of at each of the step, add to cart or abandon cart, or for continuing following them, or personalize the message, or trigger the recommendation, predict the order and trigger the next order. All behavior that we have to be able to, number one, measure in the full funnel. Number one, we have to be measured. We have to be measured the power from content into the behavior in each of the step in the funnel, all the way until they start buying, purchase your brand, and all the way until they buying brand. So number one is really like, when you trigger the interest, you'll be able to measure the customer, and you start seeing and looking in every touch point, they start engage with your brand and see the behavior and get really trigger, them into different purchasing. Now, for example, one of the things that we are working for retail is like even though we are for retail, they spending 100% media on digital to driving lead and driving sale on online. It's actually only 10 to 15% sale happen online. 90 to 80% sale actually happen offline. And it's the where the conversion getting right and disrupt. And people actually not really converting into sale. Because and not further than that, the conversion on website only 10% respond to your lead and really purchase. 80% of them add to cart and never really take any action at all. And a lot of that like that, in along the way you will see there's a lot of disruption. You are talking about only own channel. You are talking about social commerce as a bigger and with a lot of micro touch point with commerce, the situation getting even more complicated. So I guess to have the connected commerce, mindset and strategy, you really have to be, which I echoing and I totally agree. We have a full know, the full know mindset, the full know strategy and planning, and be able to measure the customer, the conform content, their attribute to how they respond to your content, your channel, your message, to behavior of conversion, and totally checking the effectiveness of conversion and see how you can actually do with different touch point of conversion, how we can convert and optimize the conversion even more. And the last but not least is also personalization. Personalize really work. Personalize actually help and it's possible right now. Actually, it's very possible. And it's actually work. What we already checking the personalized content and non-normal content. Personalized can actually help click through, let's say, grow 1.5 to 2 times, and sale grow about 3 to 4 times. For most of the campaign that we're actually running, and it helps. So actually, having the mentality of customer centric, measure the customer journey and the behavior at each touch point, and also have a tendency and strategy to personalize content, have each of a step for conversion, and help conversion improve significantly. Actually say it's scary, but it's the way for us to improve it.
And to your question about from the creative background, I also hear a lot about e-commerce and should we drop the e. I mean, e-commerce and e-design, you can call it, is important. But to your point, what remains the most important for the brands we work with is the experience. And for us, what is your products, your services should be considered as a transformative tool to actually help consumers have a positive impact in their life, in everyday life. So how can you help them have a better journey, from the morning to night, is where actually you're going to really impact their life. From drinking a can of Coca-Cola to actually going to the bank and having an easier system is all those trigger points that you need to look at, and how with your services, with your design, you can help to transform their journey, because that's where brands actually make a mark and make a stand. And we were talking a lot about e-commerce, but we can see that actually traditional retail actually is where the experience is the strongest, because while in digital we can have a lot of interaction, we can hear influencers, actually in retail you have a lot of senses that still cannot be developed on digital. If you go to a store, you create a pop-up store, you create a limited edition, you are much more enabled to actually engage with your consumer and create this experience they will remember, being personalized or creating a specific fragrance for them. These are things that they will always remember and will change you from the clutter of brands around you.
So I have a lot of indications, a good indication from what you share. First of all, it is very important that we need to measure at every single steps of the consumer journey, and at the same time you can build the brand and what is the demand at the same time as well. Like now all the channels can do it. And it's just very important that don't forget the retail experience, because it can complete the consumer experience. So that can create a very connected commerce experience for the consumer. Because we are not talking about one loop, like from O2O or not from awareness to conversion, but we're talking about we use the data for the retargeting and also like next year we're talking about the communities and targeting of the communities, their community, their peers who may share the same mindset and higher conversion rate, right? So
I think I can add in some more. It's like back to basic because we were talking about. We are all experienced from e-commerce to social commerce, a physical store, everything, and even TV shopping. But maybe we don't need to try it or think about drop the e from the e-commerce. We keep everything like that. But there are 2 points: is that if we keep and we work on the e-commerce, try to simplify all the steps that customer has to do to purchase. For example, from add to cart, after that, just like not 10 clicks, but 2 clicks only. Try to make it simple and convenient, so that will give a big impact in the to get a higher conversion. And the second thing is the social proof. Like we need the review, we need all the positive review, whether we sell an application or we sell the products or service, then try to have a better proof on social. That will help a lot, not only on e-commerce, and whenever you drop the e from commerce, it still works. So it's
So what do
2
you
points
do?
next
Do you have
year.
any advice for creating a lot of positive comments? We go into fuck it until we make it, or okay, so don't answer that. Yeah, but okay, so let's move to the. I don't have anyone who holding the sign and say that only 5 minutes left, but so let's move to the final questions about content, right? So we're saying that content is the king and content is the queen. So I want to mention about Deloitte Insights about the digital trends in 2023. They said that the young respondents, they are very much now they have the tendency to rely on the user-generated content and also the content creators. In terms of how they should trust the brand. And also the influencer and content creators really help to inform the purchasing decision. Okay, so we're seeing that now the content creators, they have the power over one single purchase. They can view the whole village, they can view with the community, they create, they have a big influence, they can help you to build brand, but at the same time, they can help you to sell your brand and product as well. So what is the role of brand in creating the content by their own? Or, should they just give the job to all the influencers and the content creator? What is your point of view?
Yeah, I think in terms of KOLs and influencers, they have been really at the start of authenticity. Because before, we were looking only at TVCs, which were created for months, everybody was analyzed, and now everything is transparent. I mean, as much as it can be. And it's going to be even more transparent. Because why? Before, now we can see the sponsored ads when you actually manipulate the information. And we also have the change from Web 2.0, now we move to Web 3.0. And what that means, it means more transparency, more traceability, and brand to be totally transparent to the message. And what does that mean also is for brands it's an opportunity. If you do your message right, we talk about digital also. So it means you can digital.
Yeah, okay.
So you have 2 personalities. You don't sell to one person, you sell to 2 persons. Because while you go onto the digital way, you will sell to your consumer who will buy a pair of sneakers, in your store, but you will also sell on metaverse to your avatar. You may buy, how you want to be on your avatar, but you may also buy a product for your avatar. So actually, the opportunities of sale is actually multiplied by 2 today. But the information and how you want to be authentic is key. So what we see a lot at the moment, and that will evolve, is that e-commerce is really key to actually bring the conversion. And that can be E or not E, I mean both of them work the same. But metaverse, for example, we see it much more as an opportunity of communication, engagement, experience. So really ensuring that the message, being influencers and KOL, and now the use of avatars is actually used right. And some brands, for example, have done this very well on metaverse because there's been always this fluff of, okay, I have the perfect avatar, perfect skin, perfect body, but brands like, for example, Dove, or if we think about Estee Lauder, went on metaverse and they use its space actually to bring the different and niche consumers to talk about their skin and their differences. So it's really important to use those actually tools and media space to actually bring values, because that's why Gen Z really value is a brand with purpose, yes, unique, but also values, because that's what is key for the new generation to talk about.
Because I just read one report as well, like another report about the Fortune 100 insights, and they share that the Gen Z now is crazy. One of them, so I know it very well. That we are not talking about one identity, but we're talking about multi identities. We are not talking about we're talking about multiverse. This is no longer metaverse. We are talking about multiverse, and we are talking about multi-reality as well. So more room for brands to create content, but the key here is the brand has to be very authentic of the message, right? So and it has to come from a real consumer point of view.
I like to add a little bit to your comments on authenticity content. We are talking most of the time we are talking about social content and social influencer. Typically, we would actually booking influencer KOLs on social system, right? And a lot of time we also, and a lot of brand been facing also like we can call unauthentic, not really authentic faces or even voices from different creator for our brand. So there's one of the things we also find out, which is very mind-opening for us, is that when we're working with the customer, the first party data of customer of a brand, we'll find out that a lot of them in that database, they actually creator themselves, or they actually can be potentially a creator or influencer or a KOC, because first of all, they have a quite number of followers. They have a very good content engagement on their page and very authentic. And sometimes they even embracing your brand. They talk about brand. They even, sharing a great experience when they actually love your brand, but you never know. So actually, when we are working with the first party data for clients, we also help them to find out and also identify and discover all of the potential KOC or influencer among their own customer, their own employee, their own people, and their own fandom. So that from those group of people, we actually bring them out and get them to become influencer, engage them in a bit more longer term basis. Because most of the time when we are from campaign standpoint, we're actually using influencer from KPI standpoint. They become the media channel. They have to deliver massive reach or engagements whatsoever. But if you're actually thinking from authenticity standpoint, from social content, you can actually think about how you can invest into your creator. Let's say let's have a concept of like creator loyalty system.
So co-creation is another idea.
And it worked. It effective with a few cases that we have been working on. So that is actually, I think, is one of the things we can tackle with the authenticity. You can become your own influencer and KOC. And the second one, which is like from content standpoint, I think content is not only on social, because there's also a huge content ecosystem that the brand actually own. And I also echo on the point that Peter talked about your existing brand owned system, which is, for example, a lot of time brand even have app, website, social fan page, all of the social channel, TikTok, Zalo, Facebook, whatsoever, right? So invest properly in your own channel. Even though a lot of time we was challenge ourselves whether invest in your own channel actually deliver KPI, or do we have to do social burn and social outreach. But make sure that you have a content strategy and you are leveraging massively in your own channel of, omni-channel, all of the channel that Messenger, Zalo, Facebook, TikTok, app push, web push. Make sure that it works best first before you actually thinking about and having a content strategy for that. Different channel actually representing different, having different objective, different role, perform different way. So think as the ecosystem and deliver and design content for this ecosystem instead of just like talking from like social and outreach standpoint. So that is 2 points which I like to add a little bit more.
Thank you. So now the questions for everyone because we have the human machine remind that we only have 10 minutes left. So questions everyone. So question time for everyone, the audience in the room. We are happy to take the questions and answer. Yeah. And here's the incentive for having questions.
So firstly, thanks very much for very engagement conversation that we had so far. So I do have I would like to borrow a bit in terms of brainstorming here when we have so many talented and shining stars in the industry in this room. Let's say the keywords for the session is about business performance. What would be your advice for the business where we gonna provide the consumer the opportunity to shop our product on fragmented retail channels? Let's say we have general trade, we have modern trade, we have convenience store, we have digital commerce, we have omni-channel, and B2B digital as well. But then with that kind of retail sales landscape, how should we drive the consumer experience? What brand should do to make sure that we can capture and provide the best consumer experience linked to sales?
At the moment, what we see, it's important to consider them all because you will analyze your data and you may consider some are less working than others and decide to prioritize. But if you need and you have the budget to maintain them all because they answer different audiences, what is important is that your message is number one. We take the example of one of your brand, Lux brand that you work on. The key message is about unapologetic femininity. How do you deliver that? It's a message about fragrance, meaning that we will deliver fragrance and the message about fragrance in a different way depending on your touch points. On e-commerce, you're probably going to be a little bit more functional about what you're going to look at because that's a moment of sale. So you're looking at your price and the key RTBs eventually. And that's why actually we think tomorrow maybe you will have two products. You have your products for your store and you will have your products for your actually e-commerce platforms because they don't look the same. You don't want to look at the same level of information. So that's really starting at this point. Then you go to the TVC. TVC can be much more purpose focused. We can talk about sustainability and the glamour experience. You go then about the celebration and events. It's a moment to engage with your senses. You talk about fragrance. We want to smell. We want to experience what the brand is about. Then we go in India and you have no space, you're in a cluttered environment. It's all about how do we actually smart in a very cluttered environment. So you have this little space to bring your sachet to life. So how do you communicate and what's the key message that your consumer in this market, in this localization of shop want to see? But the message is the same. And that consistency, I would say, is really important. So without dropping any touch points, it's about consistent message which is adapted to your touch point.
I agree. I want to equal, first of all, prioritize the channels and the budget and the investment is very important. So when it comes to commerce and when we give the strategy for the client, when it comes to commerce, this is very important we go to the client's meeting and we say that wherever you're doing a good job, keep doing it. So we are not changing anything. We're not changing, what we should do with the GT or MT, right? But here's another point as well. Prioritize the investment in the budget allocation. So that requires you to step one step back and look at the consumer journey, have a full funnel, and also we have to do a very good analysis of what the consumer journey looks like. And at every single point, what is the pains, the motivations, the barriers that the consumer expects the brand to take action so that we can move them to the next stage. Another point is that we look at the consumer at even the one consumer, they interact with different brand touch points, but they are still the same person, right? So if like what's a TBC, we say that okay, we offer you a different content. When on the way from home to the office, we're offering you something else. We agree to some extent that the brand channel insights will shape the format of the content and relevant angles. However, the brand story has to be consistent and very one consistent message. And at the same time for the brand story, but also the same time, for the commerce conversion conversations as well. So I just want to build up from that. And the rest of that, I very much agree with you. But I hope that and it is very good. I think that we don't have any formula. We cannot just say that okay, we run one campaign for you, and then we know that it is a successful formula. It takes years, so to learn the pattern of success.
Do you feel we answered a bit your question?
Yeah. We're trying to talk using the tones and trying to.
Can I add on a bit? Can I be a bit more specific here? Just now you're talking your environment, but it's a retail environment. It's a retail environment. The question just now you're asking business performance for a retail business, and you have e-commerce, you have the shop outlet.
FMCG products.
Connected customer
Okay,
experience.
so you're actually selling at the retail store, right? Yeah. I mean, still similar. I think you should work with think beyond the standard advertising. Retail media is something very hot topic, and you should treat them as a partner. All your retail shops, you should treat them as a partner. No matter they are e-commerce site, there is a shop outlet. You can actually connect with them, like arrange some. We call it partnership. Partnership marketing, in fact, is more like sponsorship. We don't actually hard sell too much. We actually like create a program, like give up sampling. It's a promotional way. So I think that is quite effective way if you treat all your retail as your partner, and then you instead of think from an advertising point of view, you think from partnership point of view. So yeah, that is my point.
So we have time for one more question from the audience. So two, we have time for two because they are very important clients of us. Okay. So everyone stay here. We're going to.
Yes, let's make this fun. We finish the week. Everybody talk about AI.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and now we talk about so complicated, fragmented touch point. We all have to think differently, do differently. Imagine 5 years from now, what would you envision the touch point, the consumer touch point, and then how we as an industry have to be prepared and get ourselves prepared for that. Right? A couple of years from now, people probably talk to the fridge, probably talk to us saying that look, buy this and buy that. The car probably tell us where to stop and where to buy. So yeah, everything. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit today, and I think it's about how do we actually not fight the machine. It's about human with a machine, and there is a brand actually called Man versus Machine, but it shouldn't be versus. It should be together. I think the recent, ChatGPT actually is improving, our life. If we take it as something that can be a base and a foundation with some kind of regulations, and I think that's something that we have discovered. It's important to integrate what AI can bring us. And then, what human needs to focus on to develop from an AI foundation, what else can we get? And we can see that the question of creativity is important. So it doesn't mean because we have AI or machine that humans are going to disappear. But together, I really strongly believe we can be stronger. And even when we look today at the data we can have on pharma, this is important because with actually AI and the research which can be actually created, that will actually help us to develop further the research, and then from there, human will able, have to actually use that to go further. So it's all about, finding this right balance of creativity and also technology.
So I want to add from the point of view of a person who's responsible for the BNL and the agency future for the next 5 years. Right, so I'm running a team of 200 creative experts, and which is my concern as well. So AI, they're going to take in the job of the creative people, and we have to prepare for that. This is what I talk to my team, to everyone. It is a very popular topic. And conversations that we talk to, our team internally here and also the regional board as well. So first of all, it's just very dangerous that AI, the power of AI that sometimes we underestimate it. It is coming, it is part of the creative, it's part of the life right now, the creative agency, for example. 2 weeks ago, my team sent me the image of myself and also my voice, giving the approval for them to have a company trip in Holland. Yeah, it's a voice demo, right? It's a fake voice. And also, we had an AI contest in the agency. We explore what the AI can support you. Now the AI can do everything. So the girl who won the AI contest, won the AI contest, is from the account team. It is not even the creative team. So with AI, she can design the logo for the restaurant, the full menu, the store, the design store and everything. It's just really powerful so that we can use that for the, the materials development. And AI is also very helpful for chatbot and automation, resource as well. So if you want to create a chatbot, if you want to have someone, to take care of the customer service, you can think about AI. And this is very good for the data analysis as well. So I see that AI are very important, and they're taking a lot of jobs, current roles from the, normal creative agency or advertising agency. However, AI doesn't have the heart and the soul, right? So we as human, we can be as funny as we want to be. And the humor sense is something that, the human being, for example, can provide, to a content, a piece of the content that the AI cannot do. So I think it's just a challenge for the agency and also for the creative industry that we have to focus on what we are doing good. And also it is really a good push for us to be good at creativity so that the creativity cannot be replaced.
Yeah. I'd like to add a little bit more because this is a really a topic agency been talking a lot in terms of how
I see that now no more social content and design.
Yeah.
You gone.
But lately there was one interesting interaction with one of our clients that working with us that they using AI at their in-house team, and they also brief us to say you guys use AI to create the content first, so like compete, and then we're competing to each other. And it's a good thing that the content come out from our creative team, which is much more interesting and much more juicy than content coming from the team. And the client then take away to us, telling us that why, the content that you guys actually, we are all using ChatGPT to do it, and why you guys can get a little bit better content. And they told us that actually one thing we learned is that the ways they brief to the AI is kind of like perhaps using basic perspective, basic language. It's not as perspective, it's not dimensional as the way creative team actually brief the machine to do. That's why the output is actually different. So there's one thing which is one angle which is very mind-opening to me is that so actually if you have a creative mind, if you actually have a good experience in life, the rich experience, right? You have a dimensional in the way you briefing the machine, the output, it make a difference. So there are still certain things that human with certain expertise, certain creativity, and expertise can still have AI to do a better job. And think further from that point, I was thinking that perhaps two things, if AI ever really develop and replace a lot of things in us, two things perhaps we are still can retain as a human being is number one, culture, right? No one can replace culture. Machine cannot define culture in company, cannot define culture in community, cannot define culture in, a group, or even cannot define your own personality, for example, right? So still culture is something very important. Brand personality, the brand culture, that is important. The brand have to perhaps sharply define. And the second point, which is experience, because we do have a customer in hospitality, and we're also discussing a lot about whether AI can replace and define a best and beautiful customer experience in the room design, in the garden design, in the UI UX of that design that is making the hospitality and the experience good to customer in real. And we realize that actually not necessary, or at least not any soon. So perhaps experience and reaching experience into a bit of a customer experience, where we're also talking about AI can provide a lot of enabler to customer experience optimization. They can do surveys, they can even optimize data points, they can even improve it. However, customer experience is still an interaction between human being and the customer journey
It's a brand.
and the brand. And at that touch point, there's a lot of interaction between customer and make customer happy. It still need a human being, a deep brain, to design the point that make the human being happy. So there's still a the power of AI is a learning progress. At this point in time, whatever we are saying here is personal prediction, or maybe personal experience, or each versus learning. However, a couple of things which we kind of like seeing it perhaps accumulated from different clients and different experience. Perhaps few things I would say, I believe that humans still play a certain role. Human can teach the machine to make it more human centric for human. Number one. Number two is that, like Han said, it's hard, right? Number two is culture, and number three is experience. Experience, I think, is customer experience, omni-channel experience, the brand experience is still something I believe, or we perhaps, that is not be able to be replaced by AI any soon, at least.
If every brand using ChatGPT for the content, we have to concern about the authenticity and originality of the content in the future as well. Like worried about the license of the content, the materials that was provided to us. So one more question. Is this okay? Ask for her approval to extend the time.
That is yours.
Alright, Krish, pretty interesting dialogue. I just want to give 2 points, ask you 2 points in terms of one, you spoke about authenticity. Second is, we were speaking about conversion metric. But it's extremely important that how does these brands in Vietnam looks at authenticity of the data, because all decision points are based on that. Man said that there are 5 years refrigerators will speak to us, but the fundamental data conversions would be that whatever data you are collecting is authentic. Is it coming from humans, or it is coming from machines? And from a creativity standpoint, does we create immense kind of creative content, but is that creative content marrying to the platform requirements, because the platforms are also changing. So fundamentally, the brands and the agencies and the analytics team in Vietnam, the question is in general, how are they looking at, from a conversion standpoint, it is actually coming from humans, it is not coming from machines. And second is, how do you do channel efficacy if it is coming from machines, because they might be wastage, they might be creatives don't comply to the standards. So So I mean that common sense is extremely important. And in the fear of losing out, sometimes these basics are completely misrepresented. So any thoughts around it? How is it being done from a Vietnam market? Because I'm pretty new to this.
Quick introductions about yourself.
I am Amit. I'm Filtered. It's a traffic verification organization, and we also work quite a lot of work with commerce intelligence and other areas. In Vietnam, we just started with some of the large brands, but generally, I wanted to understand the perspective because we are overwhelmed with data, but the verification and the authenticity is extremely important because all decisions go for us. I mean, just wanted to understand.
So your question is similar to those questions like how you're going to increase your conversion. If the client is going to ask me about the authenticity, this and other kinds of things. So, but kind of, to me, this question is kind of technical. Maybe I use another perspective to answer it. Try to be less technical in terms of the verification. So, to me, there is, of course, we talk about data, there is few types of data. Of course, the most need to be verified, we call it third party data. Is from another third party that come to you. So I think that is maybe the weakest link. And then you have first party data, which is the data that you directly collect from your customer. Not like it's generated 100%. It can be also automated or by the bot. So to me, I think it's about the level of course, if you go one up level, we call it zero party data. I think it's more authentic because usually we ask for a permission to ask you to, do you want to download this white paper? If you want to download this white paper, fill out the form. We want to make sure your email is correct and we send to you. So to me, this is another way. I won't say this is the typical marketing way. I mean, I'm a big fan of zero party data because it's data that the user willingly share to you. To me, even first party data, it's not really willingly share to you. It's just that you collect. When I purchase, you collect. Not like I give you permission. So one of the way is zero party data. But when we talk about zero party data, also related to Web 3.0, which Lorraine had talked a lot about, pro-privacy. So yeah, cookieless. I don't know, Google today or a few weeks ago, and now it's going to eliminate a lot of targeting. So I think it's going to happen. There's be less cookie, and yeah, you have to be. Doesn't matter you call it zero party, first party data. To me, it's just how do you actually make the person willingly share the data with you.
I just want to understand one thing. So what is the service that you are offering to the bank?
This is with verification that whether it is coming from human or it is coming from bots. It's more of verification for media.
For classification and better offers, you mean?
Verification whether it is coming from bots or humans. It's a fraud verification service.
So you're using device ID or these things to actually verify is it coming from a machine?
I think that you will make the people in this room will feel headache when you talk about.
So the question from this lady was right that after 5 years we're talking about machines.
Okay, so we will
But right
reach
now-
there for sure. That's what I want to share with the people. So let's talk a little bit about the data, and I will go to.
Everyone stay here until tomorrow. We're talking about data now.
Data.
Stay on the dinner in.
It's very interesting, let's say, because the way that we are leveraging the data in Vietnam is we didn't reach the stage of leverage the maximum the data that we are having, that we have to accept. Because like when I start my journey, I didn't even respect the data that I have. Because I think that by the capability of the marketing, we are very confident to approach the customer and bring a lot of profit, and then from there I can write the revenue for my company. I didn't respect the data that I have to the moment we learn about like the content is the king, the context is the queen, but the data is the casual. And if you If you don't learn how to leverage the data, then the game is not, you are not in the game actually. So that is where in the Ever Credit, we thank God that we have a lot of support in order to build even like the CDP to manage the customer data, the CMP to manage the campaigns, and we also do the classification for all the data. But the one thing that I learned during the time when I run the campaign and using the data, the first one is about like the unification. Because it's very hard for the people like when you have a lot of data, how to streamline, how to identify the customer as a one single point. And that is where I have the problem. Because the data I take from the offline is one people, the data I take from the online is one more. Then how I can unify those data and ensure that that's only come from one. That's the point, right? So we start from that one, and the way that we are doing it this moment, we are not trying to merge the data at the day one. We run the campaign, we run the communication, and during the time, we identify the customer by their response, by their action, and then we do the unification. That's the first for the data in order to enrich the data and the quality of the data that we are using. Yeah, that's the first. And the second, for the fraud, it's come to your expertise. So fraud is something that we cannot deny. Come on, it's a very pain at this moment when we talk about fraud. So, but very soon when you start from, when you try a lot of way to do the communication and marketing strategy, very soon you will see that the way to leverage the data is undeniable. And when we do that, so the fraud will come. Fraud will come in all the way. Like if you have the offer, you say that okay, if the customer they take the offer, then you will give them the cashback, for example. Then there will be some people, they just come ask someone, give their information to register to take the cashback. So many kind of fraud will come during the time when we do the communication and the time when we run the campaign. So here in the Ever Credit, so we have the machine, we have a lot of system. I think that one of the service that is maybe you know, but we have the system in order to predict what will be the fraud potentially will cause on the operation. We have the risk management, and we have on the score. We try to identify like for each action, what will be the normal and what will be the abnormal activity. And we try to separate that one and build a model. When we build a model of the data, we know that okay, this is the data lake that I have. I go to the data mart, and then when I build a customer profile, and then after that, I identify that with that profile, what will be the real profile and what will be the fraud one. So I think I don't want to make the people in this room feel headache because of this one, but just one thing that I want to ensure that you should take that attention, because very soon you will see we are marketers. But if you use the data, you are actually not only the marketers. You can even impact to the customer service, impact to the operation in general. You can drive the customer and build the engagement. You build the customer communication in-app to reduce the cost of the communication, and then after that, even through the data, you can try to have the operation, for example, like my case. Like if I want to go to collect the debt from one customer, they register, they say they are in District 4. But then when I run the campaign, I figure out, no, they are not there, they are in District 1, for example. Then the data will be updated back to the customer service and help down for the operation as well. So that is something that is very interesting, that using the data, prevent the fraud, classify the data and unify. That is where you can build the revenue, but not only the revenue, but also the growth for the company in general.
So I think that we can catch up by drinks tonight. They have a drinks for the networking, so that maybe. But when you ask that question, I feel that you also have the answer for that question. So I would love to hear more about. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just very. Well, I know that you have a question as well, but like let's get drunk and ask that question.
Yeah,
so
we have a
can
networking
yeah.
after this. Okay,
Okay.
two other board they finished 15 minutes ago. So this is fun. 18 minutes! You still have a lot to say. I must say bravo, right?